Lesson title: Policies and Laws on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. Lesson targets: At the end of this module, I should be able to explain DRR-related laws and policies, avail of existing DRR-related services, programs, and projects, abide by public policies on DRRM. How did we institutionalize DRM in the Philippines? Low economic development, wealth distribution disparities, high population growth, and rapid urbanization are some of the factors that increase the country's vulnerability to disaster. As such an effective disaster risk reduction and management SIM requires action on several fronts: good governance and institutional building, social protection and anti-poverty effort, investment on augmented capacity and resilience infrastructure, and sustainable resources management. The government must embed it in development planning and institute appropriate development policy to lessen vulnerability to a multitude of hazards and promote national resiliency. What is RA 10121? Section 1, title: This Act shall be known as the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction Management Act of 2010. Section 2, Declaration of Policy: It shall be the policy of the state to uphold the people's constitutional rights to life and property by addressing the root causes of vulnerabilities to disasters, strengthening the country's institutional capacity for disaster risk reduction and management, and building the resilience of local communities to disaster, including climate change impact. Section 6, Powers and Functions of NDRRMC. The National Council being empowered with policies making, coordination, integration, supervision, monitoring, and evaluation functions, shall have the following responsibilities: develop a NDRRMF which shall provide for a comprehensive all-hazards, multi-sectoral, interagency, and community-based approach to disaster risk reduction and management. The framework shall serve as the principal guide to disaster risk reduction and management efforts in the country and shall be reviewed on 5-year interval or as may be deemed necessary in order to ensure its relevance to the times. Section 14, Integration of Disaster Risk Reduction Education into the School Curricula and Sangguniang Kabataan Program and Mandatory Training for the Public Sector Employees. The DepEd and CHED, the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, in coordination with the OCD, the National Youth Commission, the DAS, the DNR, the DILG-BFP, the DOH, the DSWD, and the other relevant agencies, shall integrate disaster risk reduction and management education in school curricula of secondary and tertiary level of education, including the National Service Training Program (NSTP), whether private or public, including formal and non-formal technical, vocational, indigenous learning, and out-of-school youth courses and programs. Section 15, Coordination during emergencies. The LDRRMCs shall take the lead in preparing for, responding to, and recovering from the effect of any disaster based on the following criteria: the BDC if barangay is affected, the city municipality DRRMCs if 2 or more barangays are affected, the provincial and DRRMC if 2 or more or cities municipalities are affected, the regional DRMC if 2 or more provinces are affected, and the NDRRMC if 2 or more regions are affected. The NDRRMC and intermediate LDRRMCs shall always act as support to LGUs, which have the primary responsibility as first disaster responder. Private sector and civil society groups shall work in accordance with the coordination mechanism and policies set by the NDRRMC and concerned LDRRMCs. Existing programs in the Philippines. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan 2011 to 2028. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan outlines the activities that seek to strengthen the capacity of the national government and local government units together with partner stakeholders to build the disaster resilience of community and to institutionalize arrangement and measures for reducing disaster risk, including project climate risk and enhancing disaster preparedness and response capabilities at all levels. The country will have safer, adaptive, and disaster resilience Filipino communities towards sustainable development. Lastly, the Magna Carta for Women. Section 10 of Republic Act Number 9710, also known as Magna Carta of Women, spells out the right of women affected by disaster, calamities, and other crisis situations. Specifically, women have the right to protection and security in all phases of relief, recovery, rehabilitation, and construction effort. To this end, the state shall provide the immediate humanitarian assistance, allocating of resources and early resettlement if necessary, and address the needs of women from gender perspective to ensure their full protection from sexual exploitation and other sexual and gender-based violence committed against them. Among the responses to disaster shall be the provision of services such as psychosocial support, livelihood assistance, education, and comprehensive health services, including protection during pregnancy.